So guys, the FIDE World Chess Championship is heating up in Singapore. It's Gukesh versus Ding Liren. This is round 11. After 10 rounds, the scores are level with 5 points each. So this is a very important game. They both will be playing a total of 14 games and the winner will be crowned the World Chess Champion. Alright, round 11, Gukesh is playing as white and Ding is playing as black. Gukesh starts with the Reti opening knight f3. Ding responds with d5, taking hold of the center. Gukesh straight away throws a surprise on move 2 and it's c4, the Reti gambit. Ding declines it and he pushes his pawn forward. Then comes another pawn move from Gukesh. This time he pushes the b pawn to take away the support of c5. But Ding still goes for it and he offers a free pawn. But Gukesh is not interested. He makes a counter sacrifice. We call this the reverse Blumenfeld gambit. Now it is Ding who can capture this pawn. It's quite rare to see such an opening being played in a World Championship match, but this makes it really exciting for everyone, especially after so many draws. Now Ding obviously wasn't expecting this, so he goes into a long think. He spends almost 40 minutes and eventually he decides to develop his knight, ignoring all these pawns that could be taken in the middle of the board. Gukesh continues to play fast and he immediately pushes a3, defending this pawn so that it cannot be captured. Ding again spends a long time thinking about his next move and it takes more than 20 minutes. Eventually, he ignores all this tension in the center and prioritizes developing his bishop. Gukesh makes a trade in the center, Ding recaptures and Gukesh continues with his preparation. Gukesh is leading by more than an hour on the clock and this is just move 7. Now with h3, he chases down the bishop, so Ding decides to trade the bishop for the knight. He was probably concerned that his bishop could come under more attacks from Gukesh's pawns, so taking the knight seems like a decent option. Gukesh recaptures with his queen and this targets the pawn on b7. Ding defends and he gets his queen into the game. Because of this queen move, he can now even push e5 and defend this pawn. Anyway, Gukesh adds some more defense behind c4 and that also opens up his dark squared bishop. But this also means that this light squared bishop is blocked in from here, so fianchettoing it along this diagonal would be the only way forward. Alright, now here Ding comes up with another brilliant move, a5. He challenges these pawns, threatening to dismantle Gukesh's pawn structure. Gukesh doesn't like that, so he advances his pawn further up the board. But this now weakens the c5 square, which allows Ding to get his knight into the game. He can firmly place it here and in fact, it can never be attacked by any of Gukesh's pawns. This is like a dream position for the knight. Gukesh can feel the tension and that's why he spends almost an hour on his next move. He anticipates a strong attack from Ding in the center, so his plan is to fianchetto the bishop and take his king to safety by castling. So g3, now he can also target the queen this way if he wants to. Anyway, as expected, Ding gets his knight to this beautiful square. He attacks this pawn, threatens a fork, and it's very difficult to push him out of here. So what does Gukesh do? Well, he throws a counter punch and goes for bishop g2, launching his own attack against Ding's pawn. Now if the knight were to move forward to fork the rook and bishop, that would remove a defender of this pawn, so that pawn can now be taken and that would simplify the game for Gukesh. Therefore, knight b3 was not played. But no problem, Ding has another plan. He has his eye on planting his other knight on d5, hitting the queen and hitting the base of this pawn chain. He wants to grab this pawn. Gukesh realizes the threat, so first he moves his king out of the center. By castling, he also activates his rook, which can now be used along this open file. Anyway, we have knight e5 on the board and this pawn is now under serious pressure. The queen is also attacked, so Gukesh gives up defending his pawn, but then he pins the knight and hits out at black's central pawn. Ding defends with this rook. Now Gukesh also tries to do the same, but remember this knight cannot move because it is pinned and this queen is hanging. So a good move could be to push the queen back so that at least it is defended by the rook. Another good option could be something like e6, bishop d6, you break the pin and attack along this diagonal. So this is something black can try. But for some strange reason, Ding plays a defensive move here by pushing his g-pawn, preparing to castle and prioritizing his king's safety. Now we've reached a critical position in the game and Gukesh needs to find a good way to challenge black's strongest piece. Well, what is black's strongest piece? It is this knight. So Gukesh thinks for 13 minutes and eventually he finds the best move in this position, and that is a4. The idea is to solidify his pawn structure and more importantly, bring out his bishop and chop off this irritating knight. Now Ding also tries a similar idea. He pushes this pawn on the other side of the board with the hope to trap this queen or at least trade off the bishops. But before Ding tries any of this, Gukesh targets the queen. You cannot take because the knight is hanging, so Ding goes for queen d6. And now that the queen is defended by the rook, this pawn is again under attack. But Gukesh comes up with another interesting idea. Bishop to a3. He pins down the other knight this time. This is now starting to get a little uncomfortable for black. Ding goes after the queen, which has only one square left. But first, Gukesh eliminates this annoying knight, queen recaptures, and now the queen can go to e4, with which he also targets this b7 pawn. Knight c6 from Ding, blocking this attack. Now we are only at move 20 and both the players are seriously short of time. They hardly have 20 minutes to make their remaining 20 moves before they get their bonus time of 30 minutes and the 30 seconds increment. This is not going to be easy. Alright, now this pawn can also be taken, but there's not much that white can do about it. So Gukesh just plays knight a3. He plans to get his rooks into the attack in order to go after b7. But Ding does not take the pawn. Instead, he goes for rook to d7, increasing the defense around his own pawn. It is pretty clear that Ding does not want Gukesh to open up this file. Gukesh realizes this, so he immediately moves his knight again. The idea is to stop the black knight from jumping here because that will block off the rook from entering in. But anyway, Ding now captures the pawn and then Gukesh hits the queen with rook to b1. The queen moves out of the way and Gukesh advances his rook further. This rook is now very dangerous. The plan from Gukesh is to double up the rooks and get some counterplay on the queen side. Finally, Ding castles, and now instead of playing a natural move like rook to b1, Gukesh moves his knight to the corner. He probably wants to get in his knight as well, since all the action is now centered around this b7 pawn. But this was not something Ding expected, so he again thinks for a long time before he makes his next move. He finally plays rook to b8, but now he has only 7 minutes left to make his next 15 moves. This is getting really tense now. Gukesh marches forward hoping to get his knight to its dream square. And then comes a fatal mistake from Ding. He quickly plays e6, which does absolutely nothing to prevent Gukesh's plan. He could have tried something like knight a7, but that didn't happen. Gukesh continues to march forward. He's piling on the pressure. Ding moves away and now another rook joins the party. Gukesh doesn't even need to think. His plan is straightforward. He's executing it to perfection. That's just ideal for him under time pressure. Anyway, now here, the best strategy for black is to somehow stop the other rook from getting in. Maybe try to block with something like knight b4 so that you can slow down the attack. And even if you give up this pawn, the material is still equal. So you can try to consolidate and at least aim for a draw. But in this position, Ding blunders. The time pressure gets the better of him and he plays the terrible move, queen to c8. This just finishes it off for him right away. Can you now find the winning move for white? Well, the absolutely crushing move here is this beautiful queen sacrifice, queen takes knight. Look, if you take with the pawn, then rook takes, the queen cannot move, so after all these exchanges, white is a knight up and that is clearly winning. Now in this position, even if you take with the queen, bishop takes back and now again you cannot take this way because the rook is hanging. So again, white ends up with an extra piece and that's just game over. Therefore, in this position, it was as of move 29, Ding Liren resigns, and that means now Gukesh leads the World Chess Championship match with a score of 6-5. We have 3 more games to go and Ding now needs to win at least one of them to stay alive in this championship. Will he be able to do it? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this game. Don't forget to like and subscribe and I shall see you in the next one.